Parrot TV, the voice for humanity.
Hello, good afternoon, and welcome on Parrot TV. This is The Politics, and I am your host, Sainabou Baldeh. Thank you for joining us every Friday at 12 p.m. Don't forget to subscribe on our YouTube page on Parrot TV, Instagram, and Facebook. Please don't forget to like and keep the notifications turned on. And today, per usual, New York City 2021 primary elections update. Ongoing early voting primary elections in New York. So that's the topic for the day. I know the gentlemen can't wait to get to this one. It's been a busy week. So, gentlemen, how are we doing today?
Tired and need a raise.
I'm fairly well. How about you?
And thank you. Fantastic. Mr. Press, we got our Zoom working? No, I guess Mr. Press will join us later. Well, gentlemen, what are we missing? What are the updates? Catch us up. Mr. Anthony, let's start with you per usual.
Well, my dear, you know, your alternative host asked the same question, I believe, a week or two ago. So I'm going to give you the same. Oh, my God, we can see Mr. Press. Yes. So I'm going to give you the same answer I saw you gave him 2 weeks ago, which is when you ask a loaded question like that, right, you're really talking like over 50, 60, 70 races, right? I mean, what race do you want to talk about? We can talk about a city council race in Riverdale. We can, you know, talk
okay,
about
let's start with the city council, and then we can go to the borough presidents, then go to mayoral. How about that? Let's stick on those three.
Okay,
right
so
now.
pick one and let's talk about it.
All right, city council. What are we missing out this week? Primaries and hitting. So I said city council. What did we miss out this week?
What did we miss out this week? Several things, actually, that if I told you what was happening in each district, I probably hog up about 90% of the show. But probably.
Well, let's stick to early voting then. Let's stick to early voting.
Well, you have a more in 2 ways. First part, Monroe College is an early voting poll site, and they encompass both the 14 and 15 areas of the district. And it seems to be, you know, between both districts, you got like 9 or 10 candidates. So the last couple of days, even up until yesterday, it's been quietly nicknamed the Bronx Zoo Part 2. You have people there playing music. And what I mean by people is that, again, you've got 9, 10 candidates. So each candidate has a little entourage. So that entourage could be like 10 people. It could be 5 people. It could be 20 people. And including, I saw yesterday, Mr. Ravello's entourage. So, you know, you've got like a couple of hundred people all cramming for early voting, and I'm going to get to that in a second. And it just looks like a wonderful, crazy, partying, music blasting zoo that has encompassed several fights within. And the media is aware of that. You'll probably read about it more. Many people have been saying the Oswald Phillips campaign, the Aisha Bravo campaign, the Delta Tapia campaign have been taking down posters, and there's been arguments within the streets. Now, the other part of that question, early voting. You know, I think, my own personal opinion, that we are on track from prior early voting situations. So the bigger question is, well, what does that mean? What that means, gladly and sadly, is that, you know, we created a system called early voting that on paper sounds great. But the reality is that whatever the total vote is, it seems to be, based on the early numbers coming in, that 90% of whatever the totality is on election night, 90% of it is going to come from election night. So 10% is going to be coming from early voting. If you divide that to, you know, the number of days of early voting, you're looking at about an average amount. It varies per district, but an average amount of 1.1% per day. Now, is that good or bad? I don't know. Early voting is still only a couple of years old, but I would say if you look at the Board of Elections and the manpower and the woman power that they have to put on payroll, if you look at campaigns that have to, you know, pay people to be out in the street, that's a lot of money. Some people would say, would say is being wasted just to capture 1% of the vote per day.
Let's go to Press. He's finishing up breakfast like I am. Go ahead, Press.
Yeah.
You're on mute, buddy. You want a cookie? You're on mute, buddy. Oh, I guess I have to take him here. The big bombshell that happened today was with our guy, Eric Stevenson. So
Mr. Powell,
today, yes?
what have you observed after visiting some of these polling stations so far?
Oh, you want to take it there? Fine. Let's go to Little DRs. They call it Monroe College, Professor Dr. Riviecchio's turf. I don't know why he didn't flash a shield over there. Lots of fighting and Espanol, which is great. And I was surprised, I'm gonna name names, at our Congressman Adriano Espiat. I understand this guy, plays dirty, but he was really behind the scenes causing a lot of chaos. But much to his long-term detriment, he's caused a lot of, internal civil war with the Dominican leadership and community. I understand as there are old ladies and people who have known Espiat for 20 years supporting Adelka Tapia of the city council have turned on Espiat because he's supporting Ms. Karina Sanchez. Now you can see the corners of Anthony Riviccio's lips going upward because he knows what I'm talking about. So Espiat is getting weaker and weaker, and with the census's redistricting, reapportionment, his time in power might be more tenuous, I guess would be a vocabulary word. But also in Co-op City, let's go to the Black people, Arbo Chinche, right, Anthony? In the Co-op City Community Center, there was some other, puttery and buffoonery as it was when I was there, but I kept my candidate away from that and, keeping those clean too, Anthony. All right, up to you, Press. You're unmuted.
Press.
Unmute yourself.
Can you, you have to, okay, it's right there around on the bottom left.
How's that?
There you go. Perfect, thank you. Yes, we got you. We can hear you loud and clear.
Monroe College is a
Press.
tent city. You guys should know about that. Like I said,
Mr.
Powell.
Press, do you mind?
Yeah, what?
Can you please just let us briefly, just let us know how is the turnout by district so far?
It seems,
for early voting?
by district, the Board of Elections doesn't let you know. They just give you a general Bronx total. And it seems to be low, but it's getting better every day. But at the end of the 9 days, we'll see the same as we saw before. The only reason you may see a few more votes is because it's a mayor's race. You guys also, Anthony, there's an 11th district, a couple of EDs at Monroe College you forgot to mention. And you're right, Mr. Dion, that Co-op City is one of the largest poll sites. There are 3 poll sites that are the largest in the Bronx. Monroe, Co-op City, and the courthouse. Those are the 3 largest in the Bronx right now for early voting. And that's where all the action's going.
That's right. I'm glad to say that we're all in agreement here. We're all playing nice today, Press. That was nice of you to say. It's very big of you.
Well, gentlemen, according to the Board of Elections in the city of New York, compared to last year, February, the number of registered voters in the Bronx alone, as of February 21st, 2021, has increased from 839,176 to 872,925, with a major rise in the number of active voters. Unfortunately, as of June 17, 2021, the 6th day of early voting for the primary elections in New York City, only 12,241 Bronxers had voted. And this accounted for just only 1.4% of the total number of registered voters in the Bronx. What do you have to say about this?
Well, I'll start with it because people are not educated. There haven't been debates. People don't know who the candidates are. All they know is that they're going for mayor, and that's probably it and we'll have a key out, Anthony will tell you in the 13th Council District, there have been 1 debate, maybe 2 at most, but I'm sure Anthony will be with his candidate tomorrow at Family Fun Day at Pelham Parkway Houses. How much are you getting paid to do that, Anthony?
You're on mute, buddy. We can't hear you.
Anthony, you're muted as well. You're muted as well.
Okay.
Anthony, you're muted. We cannot hear you.
It's a trick.
There you go. Now, unmute.
He's censoring himself.
There we
No, the executive producer has to remember, A, he has to tell us these things in advance, and that includes when we're coming on the show. Now your
Oh,
question
wait a
again?
minute, let's disclose everything. I'm not working for any candidate.
Wait. Let's go back to her question. Let's go back. What was your question? Unmute yourself.
Now she's on mute. We have
Unmute
mute
yourself.
the hiccups.
Right.
That's
The
what
There we
button
go.
right there you go. Right.
Okay, we got the jokes today. The question was, what do you have to say about the lack of vote or early voters this year compared to previous years in Bronx?
You know, I'm going to take that to a bigger scenario. Robert's right in regards to, you know, lack of debates and limited access to candidates because of COVID, although I will admit more people are getting more mailers than ever before. But I really think the bigger problem is that the Bronx today has sadly turned into what I call a transit borough. So people live in the Bronx, but they don't live long-term in the Bronx. So if you're not concerned about long-term things, sadly, you know, those things over time have an effect on the borough. And you're starting to see that now in a variety of ways.
And let me just continue a little more with Anthony. And the reason for that transition is that the mayor had sent 37% of the homeless population to the Bronx. So naturally, when these people become stabilized, they realize, I don't want to live in the Bronx anymore. I want to go back to Brooklyn or Manhattan or Queens or wherever they may have come from, even Jersey. Okay, that's the reason for the transition rate in the Bronx, because 1/3 of the population of the Bronx never came from the Bronx. They were homeless that were sent here.
That's absolutely correct.
Okay, with the unparalleled outlook of the turnout so far and the number of registered voters, is it ideal to conclude that something political is wrong with the Bronx? And if yes, who and what could have been the cause of this political pelver? What would be the cause?
I'm going to go back again to what Robert and I both mentioned a moment ago. You know, that you have people that might be, you know, that are new to the Bronx, but they're still thinking where they lived prior. You know, so even if they're, you know, even somewhat politically in tune, they're probably thinking of the activities in their former location, because again, they're not planning on being here, such as myself, for, you know, decades at a time. They're thinking about what they're going to do next week and next month. And it's a sad situation, and it's something that hasn't happened overnight. Our transit borough has been this way now for about 20, 25 years. So the numbers we're talking about might be, of course, shocking to you know, some outside of the Bronx and, of course, outside of the city. Sadly, to people like myself, Mr. Press, Mr. Powell, these are sadly normal numbers that we've been dealing with for quite a long time.
All right, Mr. Powell, do you have anything to add to that? You're staying at the screen a little too hard. Dion?
I really didn't really understand the question. Can you repeat it, please? Can't hear you.
Unmute yourself. Unmute yourself. Right there. There you go.
Whole bunch of hiccups today.
With the unparalleled outlook of the turnout so far and the number of registered voters, is it ideal to conclude that something political is wrong with the Bronx? And if yes, what could have been the cause of this political problem in this case?
Well, it's the same political problem we've always had in the Bronx, and that in which for people who stay in power, ignorance has to persist and apathy has to persist. Yeah, but it's twofold. The people in the Bronx have to get so fed up that they have to do something more proactive and, you know, use the voting process as it were to reflect the numbers. And if those two things don't meet halfway, it's not going to work. That's what I think.
Can we disclose what candidates we're working for? Are you still working for the judge, Anthony, or is it because the money ran out, you're no longer working for her? And
I'm glad to tell you who we endorse once you answer her question.
I've answered it already.
The answer in the previous one.
Okay. So now what was your
Okay.
question, Mr. Price?
It is,
Let's
It is
have our
believed that-
disclosures, who we're working for.
gentlemen,
We are the Northwest Bronx Democrats, highly.
All of a sudden he went mute.
gentlemen, it is believed that the more informed you are about your civic duty, the less you give politicians opportunity to cheat you and your community. This is perhaps why, in response to Robert Press, a political journalist in New York City, said, if we educate these people, i.e. the New York voters, about their civic duties, they may not vote for us again. Based on this established assertion amongst New York politicians, and one suitably say that most New Yorkers, particularly the Bronxers, usually don't get actively engaged in core political activities like voting on election day?
I saw that on the Red Parrot, by the way. It was a very well-written article. Sadly, I didn't see the article for Northwest Bronx Democrats, but I did think that was a very good article.
We appreciate the comment. Press, do you have anything to say to that, please?
Nothing but people need to get a good education. As a matter of fact, in my council district, there is a poor selection of candidates, a very poor selection. Only one person stands out, but that person may not win because he doesn't have the funds that the other two, some of the other candidates have. I've gotten 10 mailings already from one candidate, the candidate that Mr. Rivieccio keeps bashing. All right. And not that I don't like her, okay, but I found out things about her, and I know her from 4 years ago when she ran, and there was things that were wrong with her that Mr. Rivieccio forgot to mention 4 years ago when she ran.
Who you're talking about?
What's that?
Yeah.
Could you disclose who you're talking about? You say this woman, Mr. Rivieccio. Who are you talking about?
Who are you
we talking
bashing
about?
in the 13th council district, Anthony?
Who are you talking about? You just gave this whole rigmarole about
Okay.
a person that you
Fine.
haven't disclosed. Could you disclose it to us? Who mailed you 10 mailers?
Let's see. I'm looking for one right now. Oh, here we go. I believe, nope, something like, oh, here it is. This is the one where you put up that's from the laborers that has developers supporting this woman.
Who was the person? You said you got 10 mailers from one person. Who was that?
There you go. Marjorie Velasquez.
Oh, okay.
And this is the one that you put up with the developers that she's taking money from. Okay, which I can't understand because she's supported by Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who says my candidates aren't taking any money from developers. So what's going on here?
Mr. Press, do you feel the
Well,
problem of this
obviously,
low
that's a
turnout is
two-part-
from the politicians or from the residents themselves?
Oh, the politicians don't want a lot of people to come out. They just want their core bases to come out, which will make it. And we saw that in the 15th council race at the special election with such a poor turnout that enough people were brought out by the current councilman through his mentor, his boss, the congressman, that he won that race with 28%. Don't look at the final number that says 53 or whatever. He had 28% of the vote. So ranked choice voting does not work.
Dion, you
Mr. Anthony, what's your observation? Mr. Anthony, what is your observation?
Dion is over disclosing over here. He's getting me confused.
Dion, please, thank you.
I'm
Do
not
you
exposing
feel the
myself.
problem of this? Do you feel the problem of this low turnout is from the politicians or from the residents themselves? And what is your observation thus far?
Oh my Lord. I think that it's really a combination of a number of things. You know, some people would say the Board of Elections hasn't publicized it. You know, then you have to question, you know, what level should they publicize it? I think they
Make it rain,
publicize
Press.
as
Make
good,
it rain.
you know, as good as they can. But, you know, I'm gonna go back to, like I said earlier, that, you know, when you live in a transit borough, Mr. Powell, you need to stop. You need to stop. You really do. When you live in a transit
Gentlemen, let's be
borough,
nice,
it's
please,
really
so that
hard
Mr.
to
Anthony
get.
could give us a response. Thank you. Can you please mute
It's
yourself?
really hard when you live in a transit borough to get people's attention when it comes to something they don't believe affects them short term, short or long term.
So in this case, you would say the residents are the problem and not the politicians?
The reason why you see Eric Adams starting to rise in the polls, the late polls, is because if there is one issue that has everyone's attention, that is crime. And I'm not saying that Eric Adams has the correct answer, but obviously that area seems to be the #1 topic.
Okay, Dion. Mr. Dion, thank you. Outside of raining us some mailers,
Yeah, now, can I do that? Can I do that?
Gentlemen, let's keep it civil, please. We're running out of time. Mr. Dion Powell.
I want to point out on the New York City voter guide, something that's supposed to be impartial. If you checked out, my friend brought to my attention, in the lower right-hand corner is your voter history.
Dion, can we please answer the question? Do you think the problem with the low turnout has to do with the politicians or the residents?
Both.
What have you observed?
Both.
Okay, please further explain on that.
Number one, the residents are so disgusted with the options and what's going on and stuff like that. And then the local elected officials aren't helping because they're not doing the whole RCV cross endorsement educational series. We're supposed to do some positive campaign. There's been increased negative campaigning amongst themselves due to the voter outreach. So right now, everybody's brain, even with the candidates, are still programmed to say, vote one and done, and that's it, just like the traditional thing. That's why ranked choice voting will be the X factor for the winner. For all the voters that are actually trying their RCV program, that's either doing the right way or the incorrect way. And that's what I think is happening.
Oh, look, Dion, here's the voters guide. Oh, Dion Powell, Bronx, New York, ran in 79th Assembly District, lost. Okay.
Dion, it looks like that would never be let go. Like first, we just never let that go. We'll just never let go.
I'm glad he's in his high
Not only did he lose, but he was out of state when he lost, working on other campaigns.
Gentlemen, upon viewing what happened so far in the 6 days of early voting, are you guys all still sticking to your candidate choices that we started with earlier when we were talking about the candidates that we see for council, mayoral, that would predict it to win? Do you still have faith in your candidates?
I chose mine when she was low in the polls and she climbed up, and I believe she will be the first woman mayor, Catherine Garcia. And my second choice was Eric Adams. Those are your top two candidates. And I said, Andrew Yang was just a flash in the pan, and he has dropped constantly. He's making worse mistakes every day.
Flash in the pan, that sounds racist, anti-Asian hate and all that. So I'm going to be so disgusted right now. I'm going to give him a shameless plug. My guy, Paperboy Prince. I'm putting him out there because what's happening in this mayor race is so disgusting. Grandmaster Yoda, aka Theo Chino's boy, Paperboy Prince, #1 all the way. Other than that, I'm going to also give a highlight to Art Chang. I'm also going to give a shout out to Aaron Nakabacher. I'm also going to give a shout out to Sean Donovan, who wasted millions of dollars of his daddy's money. Not in the Bronx, I will say. He had zero presence in the Bronx. That was a payday for any of Sean Donovan's Bronx field operations team. My God, you're still on mute, Anthony. And Ray McGuire is also a good guy that's out of the game, has a strong financial valuation. He should also be given consideration. And Mateo, my guy Mateo from the New York community on the Republican side of the family.
Oh, you're a Republican, Dion?
No, I'm a libertarian. I helped start the Bronx Libertarian Party. You were there at Patricia's eating cake and cooking.
Dion, I keep telling you, if you want to find the Donovan money, it's here in the Bronx. You just have to go to Thrive's Neck. That's all you got to do. It's all over there, millions of it.
Robert.
Go ahead.
So this one is for you. Robert Jackson, a popular community leader and organizer in Harlem, who also admitted that the election turnout in this Bronx so far in this year's election is extremely low. Sums this up by saying, my years of experience in the civic activities have shown me that the general turnout for local elections in the Bronx is always low due to the fact that most of the residents don't know the candidates and that they are unaware of the power they hold in local politics. In addition, over 95% of the youth in the county are not civically engaged at all. And a lot of people don't vote because they have work and religious reasons as well. Would you say you agree with him?
I just, I let you talk about your, go on with your question. It could have been much shorter once you mentioned Robert Jackson. I was very disappointed in Robert Jackson. He was a parent leader who basically led a charge up to Albany to the CFE. Then when he got into the city council, he was education chair, and like his previous one, did nothing, okay? Although this previous education chair started Success Academy. So obviously she knows how to teach children, but couldn't teach New York City public children, Eva Moss. So Robert Jackson just followed in her footsteps. Oh, New York City public students, I don't know what the problem is, but yet he led the charge up to Albany for them. So this is what you have. You have politicians, and now he's a state senator who beat Alessandra, whatever her name was, who was a member of the IDC, and people don't realize this, that the IDC, while they worked with Republicans, it was cross aisle. Like we heard years ago in Washington, we worked together with our partners across the aisle to get things done. And that's why you're seeing things stalled in Washington, Albany. Well, the Democrats took over and you see what you have. More crime in the street. I mean,
but Mr. Press, you're still not
outside.
answering the question. I know that after mentioning his name, but you're still not answering the question.
No,
do you agree with what he said?
People are not, they're disgusted with the choices they have. Okay, that's what I can say. And let the
Dion,
other
do you have
two,
anything to add to that?
unbiased guys.
Yes, Anthony and Dion, unbiased. Do you guys have
I'm glad
anything to add?
real quickly. Most of the answers I've given you today relate to what you just mentioned. So do I
saw that
statement? Mostly I do.
Okay. You remember why you said that. So Dion, do you agree with the statement?
Yes, but one thing I would like to correct.
Oh, like Mr. Press, you would stick to that is disgusting.
Well, I think, Sainabou, that you're talking about Robert Jackson from Harlem, the Pan-African leader that we both know in common from our African chats. So yes, the people are very disgusted. But then again, it's incumbent upon the people, once people like Dion hit the streets and tell them the hidden knowledge of how it works, to get more involved. You don't have to vote, but as the urban conservative in Long Island says, think before you vote.
Well, Mr. Press, with your answer, I find it interesting, seemingly as from the earlier quote that I read that you released, it seems you're in complete agreement with him, because what he's saying is the same thing, that if you don't educate the residents, then you can't get them to turn out to vote. Just simply
I've said that for over 20 years after seeing what one of the Northwest Bronx councilmen from back in 1993 said, and he was the one who told me, oh, we don't want to educate the people and they won't vote for us. So, that's the problem you have with the elected officials. Some of them just don't care.
So wouldn't you say that in that regard, then those, let's say, seemingly men or women or people such as yourself, Anthony and Dion, should be kind of filling that gap where the community doesn't know the information, you help them get the information so that they know who to vote for and not be disgusted by the names that they see in the poll? Whose responsibility is it?
Dion, if I might,
Well,
I think that both Dion and I, of course, Dion will speak to this more in a moment, are doing a wonderful job. I think Dion and myself, at least from an internet point of view, have our respective Facebook pages that are widely read in regards to mostly, but not totally, political information, both New York State-based and borough-based. So I would say, and Dion, correct me if I'm wrong, I would say that from our respective Facebook pages, we both get a lot of traffic, and the content we put up is mostly political, and again, state and borough based.
That's right. And the New York Free Thinking Democrats started off the South Bronx Free Thinking Democrats. We do the same thing. Our membership is growing. But the thing is, the government has the infrastructure and the capacity to do what we're talking about, but it's much into their detriment. And that's what the problem is. So both of our collective groups together, 100%, I'm not sure what they're doing down there. But what's going on with 100%, Robert Press?
Well, these two are just, they're clones of each other. Dion Powell is a clone of Anthony Rivieccio with his South Bronx free thinking. Oh, pardon me, what is it now? New York free thinking? Okay. Dion's just taking in people. Anthony's sending over people, with no backgrounds or anything. Dion says,
well, talking about the 100% now, buddy, 100%.
Okay. My Facebook page, 100%, my blog, 100% Bronx, is unbiased,
Gentlemen, because we're running out of time, I'm just going to get into it. Considering the fact that the youth who occupy more than 55% of the Bronx population are mostly sidelined by majority of the county's public office holder, one can deduce the main reason why election turnout in the county is usually low. So what's the way forward? How can this be solved, even without some of these egocentric politicians who believe that educating the youth would affect them?
You need to have.
Right now, you won't have a solution because you're forgetting. We are right now experiencing year 2 of COVID, where we basically are now living in a new world. Yes, restrictions are coming down. Yes, July 4th will look like the Will Smith movie, according to Joe Biden. But at the end of the day, we will be hopefully at normal by September, October, November. So the better way to frame it is, what is the start of the solution for next year?
Well, we need politicians or people running for office who have records, who are not running with their real, I'm running again for my office. I gave out 5,000 boxes of food. Forget it, the pandemic is over. What are you going to do now for recovery? Okay, and that's why I have on my blog a countdown clock for Mayor de Blasio. How many days are left? And I started that when he had about 400 days. We're now down to half of that. 198 days left of Bill de Blasio. And you know what? We have some people who are term limited out, who are just doing nothing. They're saying, well, I'm out. I'm going to be out soon. That's it.
Well, we hope you all can join us, the three.
Well, gentlemen,
next
we're running
Saturday,
out of time.
Time is out.
Thank
Time
you
is out,
so
Dion.
much.
Time is out,
Thank
Dion.
you all so much for joining us.
love
Per
you.
usual. We appreciate you guys. Don't forget to
I
subscribe on our YouTube page. I love you too. Don't forget to
Dion's
subscribe
like
on
the pancakes.
Instagram and Facebook.
Chips
on
Ahoy,
The
I love
Politics.
them.
Thank you for coming every Friday at 12 p.m. We appreciate it. And I'm your host,
Stress
Sainabou,
eating,
and you were
stress
joining us
eating.
today on the New York 2021 primary elections updates. Thank you, gentlemen. You guys have a wonderful
Dion,
weekend.
make sure you
Dion,
pick the
stay
check up
healthy
before the office
and
closes.
stay fabulous.